Hello, this is Max. The married couple secretly works as special agents from each other, and they are assigned to eliminate each other. You can subscribe to the channel after watching. It helps us a lot in realizing the content. The film opens with John and Jane Smith talking to a marriage counselor. They reveal that their relationship is so boring and stagnant, they can't remember how long they have been married, which they call 5 or 6 years. In response to the counselor's inquiry about how they first met, John and Jane Smith recount that their initial encounter took place in Colombia. They clarify that, despite both of them traveling alone at the time, they pretended to be a couple to avoid suspicion from the police, who were scrutinizing solo tourists. During their initial interactions, John presented himself as a construction executive, and Jane claimed to work in tech support. Over time, their connection deepened, and they eventually decided to marry. However, in the present, their marriage has reached a point of dissatisfaction. They rarely communicate with each other and are both disenchanted with their relationship. Although they occasionally attempt to start conversations, these efforts often fizzle out within a few minutes, as neither of them is willing to engage in meaningful discussions. After a few days, John returns to the counselor's office alone and confides that he loves Jane, but their marriage is becoming increasingly challenging.
Let me clarify. I love my wife.
On the other side of the story, Jane expresses to the counselor that there's nothing seriously wrong, but both of them harbor secrets they wish to keep hidden from each other. Their secrets are soon revealed. John and Jane are both field operatives working for different intelligence agencies, and they are renowned for their impeccable track records in eliminating targets. Jane is going on special assignments. She pretends to be another person to get into the room to her target. Having changed her clothes, she attracts the man's interest, after which, suspecting nothing, he trusts her, and at this time, she eliminates him and then escapes through the window. At this time, John is also on a mission. He goes into the room to his targets and pretends to be lost and pulls out a wad of money offering to play a game. During the game, he eliminates his targets. As covert agents, they are obligated to maintain their cover lives, which often involve attending various neighborhood social events. Even though neither of them has any real interest in doing so, they have not disclosed their true professions to each other and go to great lengths to conceal their secret weapons and important materials in secure location within their home. John, using his engineering firm as a cover, primarily conducts his operations from that company. One day, upon his arrival at work, he receives a call from his handler, who instructs him to eliminate a DIA prisoner known as Benjamin Dance, alias the Tank, as he poses a potential threat to the agency's operations. Simultaneously, Jane is also given orders to terminate Benjamin while he is being transported from one facility to another. She prepares explosives along the convoy's route and decides to detonate them when the vehicles pass a predetermined location she has set up. Before she can activate the explosive, John arrives at the scene in his Jeep, but Jane can't recognize his face and assumes he's a civilian. She soon realizes he is armed and seems to be planning an attack, so she opens fire on him. However, he survives the initial shots. As she attempts to identify him, the convoy enters the trap zone. In response, John fires at her hiding spot, causing the explosive to detonate and obliterating everything in its vicinity. Jane makes her escape on her bike, while John investigates the debris but finds nothing of significance except a laptop. Frustrated, John meets with his friend Eddie and informs him that a woman has disrupted his mission. On the other side of the story, Jane is furious with the stranger who interfered with her plan. She receives a call from her boss, who instructs her to locate him within 48 hours, or she may risk losing her position. Meanwhile, John investigates the laptop and discovers an address for a building in New York. He heads to the building but finds that access is restricted and requires passing through tight security measures. While contemplating his next move, he stumbles upon a label indicating that it's Jane's office, revealing that she is not who she pretends to be. Simultaneously, Jane uncovers the truth about John by watching a videotape of the incident. John contacts her to inquire if anything unusual has happened, but she remains tight-lipped. As night falls and they both return home, they become increasingly suspicious of each other and remain vigilant as they start dinner. During their conversation, they discuss their respective work and admit to facing some problems currently but claim they will resolve them soon. Both are alarmed by each other's intentions, suspecting that the other is on a mission to eliminate them. John decides to bring a gun to confront Jane, but she takes a car and drives away. They both have the intention of attacking each other, so when John spots the car, Jane attempts to run him over. However, John manages to evade the car by jumping out of harm's way. Realizing that John might gain an advantage, Jane abandons the car, which ends up crashing into a fence and breaking down. John discusses the situation with his friend Eddie and expresses his distrust of Jane. He speculates that she may have been on a mission to expose him, a mission she has now accomplished. Meanwhile, Jane confides in her friend about John, who suggests eliminating him. Fearing John's next move, Jane contacts her team to inspect her house for any clues about him. Upon returning to the house, John discovers that his secret weapons have already been taken. Frustrated with Jane's actions, he decides to pay a visit to her office, only to learn that she had been searching for him as well. Upon arriving at the building, Jane immediately orders her staff to evacuate, and she escapes with them. John collects the damaged equipment from Jane's office and begins searching for clues. Eddie urges him to eliminate Jane.
Mom! We're on high alert here!
John eventually finds information about Jane and her team and decides to raid their location. Upon reaching their building, John attempts to use the elevator to go up, but Jane has already disabled it. He contacts her and she warns him to leave town, threatening to detonate the elevator. However, John provokes her to go through with it.
Go on, blow it.
Despite her hesitation, Jane decides to stick to her plan and detonates the explosive, seemingly eliminating John in the incident. Jane becomes worried about John and attempts to locate him, unaware that he is alive and safe in the next elevator. She sits alone in a restaurant, crying for him, but he suddenly appears and informs her that he wants a divorce.
Thanks for giving me the shaft. I want a divorce.
Once again, they exchange threats again, but he invites her to dance with him. While dancing, they disarm each other, realizing that their supposed careers and personas were just cover stories for their true identities as secret agents. Jane becomes upset and leaves the room, but John suspects that she is up to something. His suspicion proves correct when she causes chaos by planting an explosive device in the restaurant and then leaves with the crowd. As he exits the restaurant, a man alerts him to a ticking device on his person. John discovers that Jane has left a bomb in his pocket, which he hastily throws away just before it detonates. In pursuit of Jane once again, he calls her and issues a threat, mirroring the danger she posed to him earlier. With their true professions and identities now known to each other, John wants to confirm whether Jane ever truly loved him. He professes his love, but Jane implies that he was merely a cover for her. This revelation upsets John, as he believes their relationship was solely about her job, but Jane doesn't clarify further. They both arrive at their house simultaneously, but Jane locks the doors and takes the lead.
Hey, John! Hey, Bill!
After circling the house and evading Jane, John manages to enter through the back door and retrieves his gun from a secret locker. A fierce fight ensues, causing significant destruction to the house.
You still alive, baby?
Eventually, they find themselves face to face, guns pointed at each other. Jane challenges John to shoot her, but he lowers his gun, unable to pull the trigger. Their love is rekindled, and they share a kiss, only to be interrupted by concerned neighbors who arrive at their door inquiring about the commotion. John sends the neighbors away, and the couple begins to reveal their secrets to each other, things they hadn't disclosed before. As they converse, they are suddenly attacked, forcing them to find a safe hiding spot. During their preparations for a counterattack, they confess that they were both given 48 hours to eliminate each other by their respective agencies. They realize that their own companies have now turned against them, attempting to assassinate them with a bomb. John manages to throw the bomb away, but it ends up under a fuel tank, causing a massive explosion that destroys their house. Miraculously, they escape just in time.
We need a car.
They regroup and flee in their neighbor's minivan. During their escape in the minivan, John and Jane continue to share their secrets. John admits that he never liked her cooking, but Jane surprises him by revealing that she never cooked and had hired someone else to do it. In turn, Jane confesses that she is an orphan and hired actors to play her parents at their wedding. As they drive, they notice that they are being followed by 3 sedans sent by their respective agencies. Jane initially attempts to take on the pursuers, but then decides to switch places with John to execute a counterattack. They continue revealing their secrets and critiquing each other's fighting tactics as they engage the pursuers. In the end, they manage to destroy all 3 sedans and escape once more. They rendezvous with Eddie, who informs them that their companies are trying to eliminate them. He suggests they split up or find another way out. However, to save their marriage, Mr. and Mrs. Smith devise a plan to kidnap Benjamin Dance and use him as leverage to negotiate with their respective agencies. They gather information about Benjamin's high-security location and decide to rescue him. John infiltrates the facility while Jane assists from the outside, and together they successfully abduct Benjamin from custody.
Who are you people?
Shut up!
They interrogate him, seeking answers about why both of their agencies wanted him dead. Benjamin reveals that both of their agencies had discovered their marriage, and they had jointly hired him to eliminate them. It was a strategy to ensure that 2 competing agents could not coexist in the same household, as it went against their agency's interests. John and Jane realize that Benjamin was merely a pawn used to manipulate them into fighting and potentially eliminating each other. They find a tracker on Benjamin's belt, but before they can take any action, they are attacked once more. While in hiding, they decide to stand together and confront their assailants. John believes that if they run now, they'll be running forever. United, they engage in a joint battle and successfully defeat all their attackers. In the end, they meet with the marriage counselor again and inform him that their marriage has been challenging but that they have worked through their issues and things are going well. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.